Right now it started. All right. So, hello, I'm almost Mongolian. Some of you might know me from Twitter. I'm an investor in Voxtur, and I'm doing an update about the company with the current CEO and executive chairman of Voxtur, Gary Yeoman. So some context, I got the chance to talk with Gary on Saturday, and I asked him many questions and took many notes from that conversation. We will go over a lot of the same stuff we talked about Saturday in this interview, and I will read from and refer to these notes during these interviews as update, because I think there are many points in there that will interest the investors. So we will start with some topical stuff and move to the specific business units later. And we won't have time to cover every topic around this company, but I think we will cover a lot. We have about 75 minutes time. So yeah, let's get to the questions. So I mean, first one, obviously you got the new auditor. So could you give a comment like when are you expecting roughly Q1 and Q4, and do you think you will give any unaudited financial highlights?
Okay, so thank you for that, and thanks for having me. And happy to allow this as a forum for all of your Finnish investors and those abroad. We're very grateful for your for your investment in Voxtur, and we certainly take the investment very seriously. And as I said to you earlier on Saturday, I have millions of dollars invested in this company, so I think that my interests are aligned with yours. We need this company to do well. We're disappointed with obviously the interest rates and the impact on tech companies, but the long haul, we're very buoyant with respect to where we're going and what we're doing with the company. So thank you for that. Specifically with the audit question that you asked, as everyone knows, our auditor resigned last month. There are no reasons given. The only thing that I can tell you is that there was an affidavit signed to say that there's nothing nefarious or anything that we had done wrong as a company, but there were some questions with respect to their audit capabilities. They were sanctioned by the by the accounting board. There's questions with respect to their licensing ability in Canada. So they resigned, and that left us, and it did immeasurable damage to us and left us with, a precarious position. I'm happy to tell you that we do have a new auditor assigned. It's MNP, and they have started the process as we speak. We were successful in negotiations with the former auditor in that they will be cooperating with the new auditor as far as providing notes and information from the last audits that everyone has to work from. So we're cautiously optimistic that everything will be completed by the end of June. It's possible it could be done earlier, but end of June is a target. It's a lot of work that they have to go through. MNP is a wildly recognized name in North America. They have an abundance of locations across North America, and so we're extremely happy with them. We know MNP very well, and so we're looking forward to a long and fruitful relationship with them. With respect to unaudited release of financials, we're having some challenges among the board in that we have a new auditor, and we have to make sure that we understand how they're treating certain policies with respect to revenue recognition and treatment of certain expenses, and what we can go below the line and above the line, so to speak, as far as how that revenue or expenses are treated. And so our board is somewhat reluctant to allow us to kind of give some forward-looking guidance unaudited, for fear that it could conflict with how the new auditor is looking at things right now. And so while I'm still hopeful that I can give people some guidance, we're certainly having to respect the awkward position that we're in right now. So we'll do what we can, acting responsibly, and certainly within the confines of what the regulatory laws allow us to do.
All right, thank you for that. Then I had another one, which is How are you thinking about the CEO role in the future? You became the CEO, and I think many
Yeah.
people are thinking like, are you gonna stick around for how long, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that, let's put it this way: the most important thing is the company. It's not a time to be thinking about, yourself personally in that. So I'm going to stay as long as it is required to fix, what needs to be fixed and to turn this company around. I think that it would be certainly unfair to bring someone in and having them spend all of their time trying to fix it instead of focusing on our strategy, our vision, and the positive things that we have going forward. We'd like someone to come in on an upward note because we think the opportunity is to get great candidates, would be an emerging, growing, successful company. That is where we're going to be. I've got some challenges ahead of me, as you will find out over the course of the interview, but certainly not insurmountable challenges. These are challenges that are basically facing almost all real estate tech stocks today. And I will say that I think that we're outperforming our peers with respect to performance wise. So I'm optimistic for the future. We got some challenges over the next weeks and months ahead of us, but we'll overcome them and positive about that. So at that point in time, when we got things turned around, we will conduct a search and find a proper CEO. Let's be candid. I'm 68 years old, and it's not time for me to be thinking about my future. What do I want to do when I grow up? I mean, I've been in the public markets for 20-some years. I've been CEO for over 20-some years, been chairman for 20-some years, had multiple experiences in multiple companies. So I think that, I'm, certainly experienced enough to kind of get us through some of the challenges that we have from us. As I said at the outset, I'm extremely concerned, that we do things the right way. I definitely want to get this stock up so that all the people that put trust and faith in us have that opportunity to finally realize the potential and the returns that they want. Failure is not an option. And so I'll give exactly everything that I have to give. And right now it's 7 days a week, probably 70, 80 hours a week of nothing but business. And it's a hell of a price to pay, but it's what the investors, need and what they deserve. And so that's what I'll do to get it turned around.
All right. So thank you for that. Then I had acquisition strategy, near term, long term, mid term. We kind of the focus for the company at the moment.
Right. So, obviously we've been a pretty buoyant company with respect to acquisitions. We've done a number over the last couple of years. We're extremely happy with the acquisitions that we have done. Blue Water, the most recent one, has got us into the secondary market, and we'll talk about Blue Water a little bit later today. Again, a technology play, fully digitizing the whole lending process and due diligence process and trading process, in MSRs, whole loans, non-qualified mortgages, HELOC, which is home equity lines of credit, etc. So we're really, really happy because it helps us with the non-cyclicality of a company. Right now, a lot of our peers were focused on the primary market space or origination space, have been really caught with their pants down because, obviously the volumes have went down significantly with higher interest rates. We will show you over time that our fourth quarter shows, not a owner's position like our peers have been put into. I think that, we're reasonably happy with us not falling back. We're certainly going forward. So I think that, we're happy with that Blue Water deal. The ANOW deal, which is, basically digitizing the whole appraisal record process, is extremely important, to the growth of it. As everyone has seen, Fannie and Freddie have come out with new rules requiring floor plan layouts, requiring building sketches. We've digitized all of that, and so that has all come out of the evolution of the ANOW acquisition. So that the company is doing really well, signing up appraisers every day. Our direct appraisal process is working really well. So love that business opportunity. The Apex business that we bought is dealing with sketches, so the largest repository of sketches in North America. So it's turning to be fairly prophetic, given the way the market is changing, going to be relying on sketches. All of these things that we did were for the future. And so I think that it bodes us extremely well with what we're doing. And so very happy with the way things are going with our business. You have bumps and bruises, and no one can say that when the industry is faced with double-digit interest rate increases, that it doesn't affect the industry. It affects the industry significantly. But more recently, what we're seeing is stabilization here in North America, and if anything, a slight dipping of interest rates. And I think people are starting to get more comfortable. And the latest prognostications that we've seen is that this trend will continue to happen, and we think that things are going to start coming back and will bode well for us in the future.
Yeah, that's for acquisitions. What you said to me that you're basically done with them, at least.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you never ever say done, but like I think that we've done more than what we could reasonably expect, and we need to focus on the businesses that we have and make sure that, which is technology, anti-cyclicality, revenue recognition opportunities, all of those things that are important in an acquisition that we've considered. We've done that, and we want to focus on continuing to grow those. Having said that, there may be some tuck-ins from time to time that are just no-brainers, that are not significant as far as cost, that augment and improve and will benefit our company as a whole. But no significant acquisitions are in place at all. Having said that, the business is a business. You do whatever you think is the right thing for the business. But right now, I think our focus is on dealing with our debt, getting our debt, into a much more manageable place. So no acquisitions is basically what we're doing. Focusing on what we have right now and growing it is the priority.
Yeah. So next one is what people have been talking about a lot is possibility of capital raise and overall the liquidity situation in the company.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're looking at everything. We're looking at certain assets that we may deem to be non-strategic, and I won't get into what those are right now because I need everyone with all their, all hands on deck, doing everything we can to generate as much revenue as it can. But we'll look at non-strategic assets that there may be some disposition, possibly. Anything is possible. And so us, improving our overall debt position is of importance to us. Our focus as a company is to focus on technology and data, and making home ownership more affordable. So to the extent that you have lots of work that are boots on the grounds that can be replaced with technology, then we'll be looking to fortify and augment that. Is kind of our strategy right now as we go forward.
All right. Yeah, and you also said that if there was going to be a capital raise, that if there was going to be, it would be a small one, and
yes,
possibly and preferably with a strategic investor.
Listen, if that definitely would be the priority. Yeah. The interest principal costs are expensive right now, and we've got so many new initiatives that are just coming and starting to blossom over the course of this spring and summer. And so long term, we're well placed and well positioned to be able to, handle anything within, what we have in front of us. Short term, some of the new projects that we have, namely AOL is one of them. Blue water is another, where there's just starting to blossom right now. Short term, we may need a little bit of cash flow to kind of get us into that comfort zone and make sure that the bank is in the comfort zone. But there's nothing significant that would in any way, shape, or form upset the apple cart with respect to our existing capital market size right now.
All right. And next one I had about the debt and about covenants, if you can say anything about them. So based on Q3 call, you said you had new covenants.
Well, we certainly had a waiver, but having said that, we take our relationship with the Bank of Montreal extremely seriously. I personally have had a long-term relationship with the bank over 20 years, and all I've done is make money and provide great opportunities for them to profit from it. At the same time, you can't take things for granted, and so I think the biggest concern right now with the bank would be from a liquidity standpoint, that we have enough cash and receivables in the bank to kind of get us through for the new businesses to get started. And so that's one of the things we're looking for from a short-term comfort zone fix, and that will be taken care of. And we're looking at a little bit of everything, like I said before, maybe a small strategic investment coupled with some maybe non-strategic disposition of certain assets. And so we're looking at everything. Nothing has been formalized. Nothing is finalized. There's no offers on the table or anything right now. We're working on it, and we're very, very confident that the Bank of Montreal and Voxtur are aligned with our goals, with our strategy, with our vision, and we'll deal with all of the challenges that we have ahead of us.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say this. I think the maturity of it was 2025. The debt.
Yeah, I mean it's listen, I've been around a long time, and you always have to have a start and an end date. But basically, it's kind of akin to you being a landlord in an apartment, and you sign a 1-year lease, but you don't renew that lease, but the lease keeps on going. So as long as you're a good tenant, as long as you pay your rent, as long as you take care of your apartment, then chances are that you can live there for years and years and years. And it's very much akin to the bank. As long as we make our payments, as long as we have stability, as long as we have proper liquidity, as long as we have profits to be able to handle the debt, then I think that we're going to have a very long-term relationship with the Bank of Montreal. And so that's our goal, and that's the goal of the bank, and so that's where we are right now. Is that there hasn't ever, in my view, been any kind of debt covenants that people don't have a start and an end date. But again, as long as we're doing everything that we're supposed to do within the confines of that agreement, we don't expect that to end. We'll have a long-term relationship with the bank.
Yeah, we also talked about the debt service cost, interest and repayment monthly, and I have 1.2 million USD monthly at the moment. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And it's approximately that.
All right. Yeah. And just for the viewers, when we talk about like amounts, we are talking about with USD.
Correct.
Yeah. So for the future, I will have to mention it.
Yeah. The only exception would be when I'm talking about our tax group and the work that we have in Canada and Ontario, specifically our PTA. I'll give you Canadian dollars there, but other than that, we'll talk in USD. I think it's 90% of our revenue right now is reflected in US currency, and so it's probably easier to talk in US dollars.
Yeah. So next we have the cost reductions, 1.5 million per month, and I had a question like where is this cost reduction coming for mostly, and also like what quarters is it is it taking place in mostly in Q4, Q1, Q2?
Yeah. So we did our first tranche of austerity measures in the fourth quarter. We've done more cuts in the first quarter and the second quarter of this year. So effectively, we have cut almost a third of our workforce. That cut has been equally, distributed. But I think, the biggest cuts lately have come from corporate, where, we're cutting, our marketing costs, cutting our HR costs, cutting, our sales team, cutting, project managers from a development standpoint. Basically we look at everyone and who's making the money. Obviously we don't want to cut from the hand that feeds us, which is our business unit. So, but where there's superfluous talent, we just, we have to look at things that are need to have rather than nice to have. And so we've tried to, be attentive to what's happening in the marketplace and cutting our costs accordingly. And so I think that there'll be more, austerity measures to be put in place as we go forward. I think that the fall was where I start to see the sun shining. And I think that this is a real metamorphosis that we're going through, in this spring and summer. Everything is going to start to blossom. And so I'm really excited about it. We've got so many new projects and so many new contracts that are in place. So we're really, really happy about our future. We've had some very strong commitments from very, very reputable, strong clients that have committed to us for a long term. So we're real happy about our future.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I had another note here that I asked if the labor reductions will affect the growth plans, and you said not really.
No. I mean, listen, the people that are, that are generating the revenue are still alive and strong and will always be with us. As you grow with a company, sometimes you grow like the analogy said that your eyes are bigger than your stomach. Sometimes that happens with business, is that you expect things to happen and they don't happen, and you make moves and you probably, did them premature. When I come to the table, the way I look at things is that, we're not going to, start spending until we can afford to spend. So in other words, my stomach is going to be aligned with, with my eyes. We're not going to be, taking on extra costs and extra risks. They're all going to be measured. We're going to be affordable. As we get contracts in line, and we need more people, we'll hire them at that time. We're not going to hire with the anticipation it's going to happen. Then if it doesn't happen, we're left, in an awkward position. It's just a little bit different philosophy. And I'm certainly, that's not meant as a criticism to former management at all, because I think that many people were caught a little bit flat-footed with the interest rates doubling as quickly as they did. So I think the rest of the world, went through the same challenges that we have, because no one anticipated it happening as quick and as formidable as it was.
Yeah, there's been a lot of reshuffling in the management, I have noticed this year. And it seems like the Blue Water people from that transactions are taking a bigger role.
Well, listen, there's no question that Blue Water is a very significant pivot for us. We needed to get, much more formidable in the secondary market. And so everything that Blue Water does, while they can certainly play in the primary space in every way, them getting into the secondary market was really, really important as, a anti-inflationary, anti-cyclicality, type move for us. So we do know that no matter what happens, mortgage servicing rights have to be traded. Investment banks have to have liquidity. And there's always is a demand by the banks that are buying them, because guess what they're buying? They're not just buying service rights, but they're also buying clients. And what does a bank do with clients is they basically resell other services, don't they? One thing is having a mortgage. The other thing is you need a car. Do you need, other services that the bank provide? You need investment services, et cetera, et cetera. So the mortgage servicing rights are going to continue to blossom. There was a pivot for almost 2 quarters because when the interest rates doubled, what everyone was saying was, holy mackerel, what is the proper price to pay for those servicing rights? Because we're typically investors were getting 12 to 15% return. All of a sudden, with the interest rates higher, people are saying, well, geez, we could probably get bonds at 11% that don't have any risk. So should we do this? But at the same time, knowing full well that they had to get liquidity. So we think that all of that rationalization, though, that thought processes went through, and things are starting to move again. I think there's been a number of prognostications with respect to servicing rights that this is going to be a very buoyant year for them. But even more importantly, Al Qureshi has done an outstanding job in growing the Blue Water business from the time that we purchased them to where we are today. And in that area, he's not only dealing with servicing rights, but he's also dealing with due diligence. I mean, what separates Blue Water from the rest of the pack? And that is fully digitizing all of the mortgage underlying documents that are there. All of the due diligence that is required is done. Not only looking at the mortgages and all of the underlying documents, the title, the liens, and everything else, but you're looking at the valuation, you look at flood certificates, tax certificates, all of that kind of thing. And he's digitized that whole process. So why has that become so valuable to us? Well, I think that you're going to see an opportunity in the near future of us having a product that can be fully insured in that space. All right. Certainly not done yet, but certainly that's our plan, is to go forward to ensure that. And what does that impact that have? So as an example, if I'm a purchaser of mortgage servicing rights, and let's say I'm buying 20,000 loans, or servicing right loans, in that. Typically, what they do is they take anywhere from 7 to 10%, and they do a quality control check. I think it's basically it's a obligatory responsibility that they have to have that review. And what do they do with that check? They look at all of the underlying documents, the mortgage documents, the title, the liens, the taxes, and all that thing. And right now, that costs an average purchaser about $600 per loan. So if you did a 10% review, you're talking 20,000, 10% is 2,000 times $600 per loan is about $1.2 million. Well, we're going to come up with a fully digitized review of all of the things that they check, but we're going to do it on 100% of the documents rather than the only 20%. And we'll be able to do it for $25 or less per loan. So if we're doing 2,000 loans and we do it for $25, we're doing it for, instead of 1.2 million, we're doing it for $500,000. So we're doing it for 100% of the loans at half the cost. And why can we do it? Because we've digitized everything. And what else does that mean to us? It means that, they're going to look at our tax, title, and valuation platforms that are the other business units they have, and we're going to use all of that data and all of the technology that we built to be able to deliver that. Everyone is wondering, like, how do you use, broker price opinions or AVMs or evaluations and valuation that are digitized? We have that. We got a lot of that through our Zome and ANOW platforms. As well as all of the data that's required through our Benutech deal that we did. So when you look at the fully digitized process, I mean, we're going to be able to deliver 100% of the review at less than half the cost of what they're doing today. So even if we don't get the opportunity to trade and represent the purchaser or the vendor as a trade of that servicing rights, we definitely will participate, because I don't see anyone not using us for the due diligence, because no one has digitized it. The reason they charge $600 is all done manually. They would need like 200 people, over a 6-week period to do that. We could do it in 10 seconds. So it separates us from everybody. And to be able to put an insurance wrapper around that and basically guarantee that is a really, really important thing. The other thing that's extremely important, when you're doing that review, is that many of the loans, when you're purchasing a servicing rights, many of those loans have deficiencies. Maybe they don't have an appraisal up to date. Maybe there's a lien that was dictated on the property that they need us to review. We can do the appraisal or valuation review. We can do the title review. We can do the tax review. And so all of those things that where loans get thrown out because they look like they may have a defect, because we do things digitally, we can bring them back into the fold. And so if someone's buying 20,000, instead of only getting 19,200 because other 800 were thrown out because people don't have the time to fix it, we have that. And guess who's going to do all the work? Our business units. So we just love the process that's going in. And, that also by participating in the order management / brokerage part of the business, we can deliver everything from buy, sell, to hedging, obviously the pricing, of the servicing rights or the loans or whatever we're dealing with. We can handle the full digitization of due diligence, and we can, facilitate the brokerage of that transaction. So there is nobody like us on the planet Earth that can do it. And we're using every business unit that we have to facilitate that. That's called synergy. That's called accretiveness. That's why we do deals like that. Nobody thought about that. I mean, quite frankly, Blue Water is going to have the same impact akin to what I did when I bought Argus when I was with Altus. When I paid $130 million for Argus, everyone, like they just sat there like, dumbfounded and say, well, what the heck does that mean? How does that impact it? Well, that little business today that I bought in 2012 is probably now worth $3 billion as opposed to, the 130 that we paid for it. It is the epicenter of everything Altus does. Everything swings from that Argus platform as far as technology and digitization. Blue Water will do that for us. We've got a tremendous leader in Al Qureshi, extremely talented, extremely intelligent, a great business team. We're really happy about that deal. Yes, you have a few hiccups because interest rates doubled in that. So not everything that you do has instant gratification. You actually should value the true worth of a business over a 3 to 5 year period and not like over a 3 to 5 second period. So I'm really happy with what we're doing and where we're going. It's going to be proved to be a very fortuitous and very valuable, entity that we acquired.
Yeah, so good answer. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. That it's kind of a similar situation than the other situation. So the next question I would have is this is kind of this that whether you can answer or not. Can you make any comments on the current profitability of the company, and what would you expect in terms of profitability for the second half and let's say 2024?
Yeah. So let's just talk about, when you say profitability, because I think that people can, misinterpret what we're talking about. Yep. So there's profitability of the business unit, which is basically, revenue less cost of goods sold, less your operating costs, which is wages, etc. So that is profitability at a business unit level. Then there's gross profits, where you just take revenue, less the cost of goods sold. Then you look at EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, depreciation, and amortization. And then you got adjusted EBITDA, which is, eliminating one-time costs. So I prefer to talk about profitability of each individual business, which is all costs except for the costs of running a public entity. So you got corporate office costs, which include, audits, which are required for public entities. You got all of your legal costs that are there. You got regulatory costs, regulatory filings. And so right now, I mean, we've taken those costs down to, roughly about 1.1 million a month. They were at 2.5 at one point. So we made some, some massive cuts in a whole bunch of different areas. And I think that, as we fine tune our business, where we're focused on not, feet on the ground, but certainly on technology, I think that we can cut those costs again, even more. And so that's what we're moving towards. So from a profitability standpoint, I think we did, from an EBITDA standpoint, I think we did okay in the fourth quarter. I think, time will tell. I mean, the results aren't out, so I can't talk about it, but I'm very happy with it in respect to how we're doing compared to our other comparables. I think we've far outpaced the marketplace. First quarter, second quarter. Second quarter is going to be, okay, not great. First quarter, okay, not great, because we've got a lot of costs that we had to, inherit. We've had a whole bunch of legal issues that we've had to overcome, some little internal things. You got severances, that you have to deal with all of the, the cutting of people. Some costs are only 2 weeks, and some are 2 months, and some are years. So there's a whole multitude, and so we have to get through that. Now, the one good thing from a profit standpoint or EBITDA standpoint is all severance costs are, kind of below the line instead of above the line, but there's still cash flow costs that we have to deal with. So we have a plan on how we're going to deal with all of that. And, that's not going to take very long for us to be able to effect over the next, 2 to 3 months. But I think that we're going to be really in good shape, coming, starting in the summertime. I really do. So, if you want to talk about business units and profitability and margins and that, happy to do it. And so I'll just let you go on with the next questions.
Yeah. Well, I had another one in that previous question. If you can, so would we expect better profitability in the second half and 2024? I mean, you haven't given guidance yet, so it can be.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You can say.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. I mean, when I take a look at it from our tax business, we got RPTA, and we were included in the recent provincial housing budget. And so we're just working through contracts right now with the government. Expect that to be done shortly, but that's a very profitable business for us. Not only will we generate good recurring revenue with the technology that we're selling of RPTA, but there's 6.5 million properties, 444 municipalities in the province of Ontario that will all benefit from this. And so we will be providing service to each and every one of them, and we expect massive revenue growth for us, starting to build up, in the third and fourth quarters of this year. So we're really happy about that business. That is a real game changer. The other part of that business is they have the sketching, like I told you before, the Apex sketching. And, we come out with some technology with floor plan layouts. That's all going to augment with our valuation business and the new criteria that Fannie and Freddie are coming out with respect to more emphasis based on sketches, the floor plan layouts correlated with AVMs as opposed to boots on the ground appraiser. And, the $1,000 in 20 days, you're still going to need it. But, the speculation that may be, the new way will represent 60% or more of all appraisals, and the old way will be 40%. There's certainly, everyone's talked about it. The appraisal community at large is a very mature entity. There's not a lot of young people like yourself coming in and wanting to be appraisers. And so therefore, I think the technology and new fundamentals and new standards, new policies, new procedures all have to come into effect that clearly provide all of the answers that are needed to be able to facilitate a loan taking place. And I think that we, because of the acquisitions that we've done and the technology we've built, will be at the forefront of every one of those. So that's, kind of, our tax business feel very strong about that. Our valuation business focus is going to be, a lot is, obviously Al Broadway does an excellent job with the appraisal side of the business. A lot of it, almost half this business right now is on default, using BPOs and that. And then the growth for Al will be on, obviously the appraisal direct, using the technology on, as I said, the sketching and the floor plan layouts. And the other thing that we're doing significantly is because we've created, I call it Nexus 2.0. I know my staff will admonish me because they come up with different acronyms every day of the week, sorry. And so essentially what we're doing is we've basically created an automated report writer that could read every appraisal document, in the country. And what we're able to do is facilitate uploading all of the data that we have, which is anything you want to know about the property, from lot size to building size to, condition, to everything you want to know. We can even populate sales and comps. And so can you imagine, as an appraiser, walking in with your tablet and us being able to upload all of that form and complete that, including the sketch, where before they had to do everything manually. Can you imagine the old days? And I say old days is what, probably 75% of the people do today, is they come in with a clipboard and a tape. All right. And they write everything down manually. They measure the building manually. They write everything in. Then they have to go back, to their office and fill everything in manually. Half the time they find out they got a measurement wrong or they missed something. Everything that they can do now with our technology is on a tablet. You can walk right in. We'll provide the sketch. We'll provide all of the information. We'll provide them comps and sales. And all they have to do is basically fortify or verify that the information that we have on there is correct. Everything can be done with your iPhone. And if you want the floor plan layout, we have the technology built that you can go in and scan and provide the floor plan layouts. We have done everything technology. There's only one other company that has competition that can do what we do from a technology standpoint in the whole country. So we believe that we're going to be significant providers right now to all our competitors, because we're going to transition into more technology and less, into, the actual doing of the manual work. And so we really, really like, where we're going on the valuation side. Same thing on the title side. We have AOL. We haven't talked about that, but that's a big deal for us. Attorney opinion letter. You can, on what we call purchases or new mortgages, and that we can provide attorney opinion letters for $1,100, $1,200, and where it's costing like $3,000 in the normal marketplace. And if it's a refi, then we can do it for $500, where it's basically $900 to $1,000 in the marketplace. So effectively we can provide fully digitized insured products in the marketplace. Why it's going slow right now is that we have to get the banks to be on side. And just like every institution, banks are, the most difficult and more slow to react, because, the consequences are significant. But we have many, many banks signed up already, going through pilot projects. And every day, we're getting somebody new. On top of that, we've got a number of other service providers that are currently our clients that will be selling this for us as well. So we really, really like what we built. We've got a magician, that has created a whole bunch of projects. We've got a platform called Life Cycle. And so every lender and every title provider and every value provider can go into our Life Cycle product. And we could tell them exactly what product they should use. Based on the criteria that is laid out, we could tell them whether it should be a BPO, broker price opinion, whether it should be an evaluation, which should be a full valuation, or an AVM. On title, we could tell them whether an AOL qualifies in that particular area, and so they can fundamentally save the money, or it could be a full title report, or just an overview because they got an existing title that's recent. So all of those things that can be done on Life Cycle. And so essentially it's all geared around making home ownership more affordable, providing the lender with opportunities to offer, a more advantageous price for those clients that there's wanting to buy a home. And we're doing that because we're able to use technology and innovation.
All right. Thank you for that. So next question I had is kind of like from the current business unit, like what is dragging the results down, and what is like what are the weak links and what are the strongest parts of the business?
Well, okay, so you've got the macro, which is, headwinds with the interest rates, right? And so, originations have to come back. Defaults never have come back because why? Because the prices of real estate have remained high. So rather than people, foreclosing and going bankrupt, they just sell their home because they got equity in it, right? So that hasn't come back. So there's been a big change in the marketplace that way, and that's what we've done is we've been able to pivot and bring technology to allow us to excel. So again, on valuations where everything has come down, defaults have come down, originations come down. Guess what we've done? We've actually grown our business. Al Broadway's done a significant job. Why? Because we bring quality, we bring technology to make things done quicker, more efficient, and more affordable. So, so that business has done well and continue to grow. When you got other companies, and I'm not going to mention names, that have fallen off 90%, and that valuation side, you can all figure out who they are. So one thing I admire about your Finnish group is that you're almost like Detective Clouseau. Everything that is happening in the marketplace, you seem to find a way to find who's working, who's doing it, what's happening. I admire your tenacity for that. But valuation, is coming around because of the technology that we have. Tax business is finally coming around because we're finally going to get this RPTA underway. Title business will be coming around, but AOL is slow. AOL, we've targeted to get as many as 1,000 transactions a month by the end of this year. All right, by the end of this year, and so that will make us, a couple $100. So, basically, we'll make a couple $100,000 in profit in AOL by the end of the year. But next year is where our coming out party exists. How can you not take AOL? At half the price. You need to do things more affordably. So that's taking time, but we're going to get there. And in the meantime, through our project life cycle, we're offering all kinds of products that make it more affordable. So we've talked about, the title, we talked about our valuation side, and, we've talked about our tax side. Again, I've talked about Blue Water. All of those companies are all coming out. So I think between now, which is May, and the summertime, a lot of these new projects, new contracts that we're signing right now are extremely formidable. They take time to gather momentum. And so I think you're going to see a massive improvement of this company in the third and fourth quarters and beyond.
Yeah. All right. I have one more question before I bring up the notes to the screen. So this has been talked about a lot, the organic growth, because for a company that has done so many acquisitions, it can be hard to differentiate between the organic and the inorganic, and especially now with the market has essentially shrunk in recent times. So how would you kind of, because what I've heard from people in Voxtur is that you have had market share gains, you have had growth. So kind of what would you say to convince people that you have had organic growth?
Yeah. So it's really important at how you categorize and define organic. So you take a company, for example, like Blue Water,
yeah,
who basically were an MSR trader, right? But all of a sudden now they're an MSR trader that can now, handle order management systems, that can now provide full due diligence, technology due diligence, because they have a tax, title, and valuation group around them to be able to facilitate that. And we're also giving them opportunities to participate in the whole ecosystem of that trading platform, where where historically they've represented buyers. They're now going to represent buyers and sellers. They're going to do work in the, instead of MSR, they're also going to do work in scratch and dent, and whole loans, and home equity lines of credit. They're doing due diligence. All of that has been made possible because of the contributions of Voxtur as a whole and what we do. When you have tax title evaluation and you can incorporate that into your service offerings, that's what causes that company to blossom and to grow. That is what I call organic growth. If it's just doing MSR trades, right, on bulk trades or flows, that's their business, and that's what I would call organic growth. That's just acquisitive growth. But when you incorporate all the other attributes, I call that organic, right? The same thing when we bought Apex. Apex just did sketches, but now because we're offering, an assessment management platform, that we're offering geo viewport, that we're offering imagery, all of that has caused that business to grow, and I call that organic growth as opposed to acquisitive growth. So every business that we bought, I told you many times at the start that it has to be real estate, it has to be technology, it has to be accretive, and it has to be synergistic. So there's not one business that we bought that stands alone that says, go away, just buy, do your thing, we're leaving you alone. Everything ties into everything else that we're doing. If, like Blue Water does, incorporate our valuation, tax, and title groups. Our tax business requires our data groups for Benutech. Also, a big part of Blue Water is having access to the data that Benutech has. I mean, Benutech sits over here, it says Data Hub with technology built, and they've signed up every major title holder for lead generation and for, client retention. But it's also provided the hub to be able to do all kinds of data outsourcing right now that they never had before. That was only made possible because of Voxtur and the far-reaching effects of what we're doing in our other businesses and what they need. The biggest growth for Benutech this year will be the data collection and sources that were all, Voxtur's clients that they never had before. So it's kind of a, it's not a clear, path as far as how you separate organic from acquisitive growth. I believe that there's not one business that we have acquired that just stands on its own. Every one of them, if you talk to the presidents today, they will talk to you how necessary it's been to be able to utilize the other attributes of Voxtur to give their business the opportunities for growth and success.
All right, that's good to hear. So I'll bring up some of the notes I did from our talk about Blue Water, AOL, RPTA, and now. Yeah.
I think I've talked about a lot of them already, but in the event that it's repetitious, we'll go over them again.
Yeah, we'll go. There's some other questions there we could look at. We have don't have that much time left, so I just want to go over the notes so people can see them. So, right, you can see the notes here, right?
Yes.
All right. So we had the whole freedom selling round point situation people have been speculating about. Like, is it?
Yeah, that's, that was a bit of a, it was not business lost, it was business deferred. It was a bit of a setback for us. We were doing a lot of work for Round Point. Freedom sold it because they're building their own platform. They didn't need two platforms. And so those clients didn't go away. They just had to be signed up, included, built onto the platform that they have. So basically we lost 6 months of some of that revenue, but that revenue will be coming back. So, timing is everything. It would have been nice if it happened a year later when we were already down the path with other businesses, but it didn't. But, Freedom is an extremely valuable client to us. We build a full technology, for them to be able to facilitate they're being, the largest service provider in the United States. We're very tied with the hip. We have much gratitude and respect for Freedom, and we're doing many things with them. We expect that they'll be using our data in the future. We expect that they'll be using our technology and our due diligence. We expect that there'll be a reseller of our attorney opinion letters. All of that is not in place today, but certainly these are things that, we're fairly confident that they will happen in the not too distant future.
Yeah, but it is correct that RoundPoint could return as a client.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, right now our focus is on just making sure that, we just signed our, our long-term agreement with them on the full technology platform that is run off of Voxtur, powered by Voxtur. So, we're not focused so much on that right now. Everything we're doing right now is, with our client is what, we want, or whatever our client asks us to do. So that's where our focus is going to be, but that's not business lost. We expect that a lot of that business that is in Freedom will come back to, or in RoundPoint will come back to Freedom. So, that's another way to look at it.
Yeah, you also said something about this thing. Some kind of announcement from this business unit.
You mean Blue Water?
Blue Water, yes.
Yeah, well, we kind of talked about it on the due diligence and the insurance. We expect that, that will be a fairly big deal. They're going to get more involved in the order management process. That's a big deal. But the due diligence is really critical. It involves tax title valuation, which is what we want. So, just stay tuned over the next, few weeks and months. There'll be lots of announcements with respect to deals that will be, new contracts are in place. Again, as most of the people that will listen to this today, it is a bit of a fickle space in that we may not be able to use the names of our clients. We may have to say top 5 service provider, top 10, mortgage underwriter, whatever. Sometimes people do not want us to be able to use their name for reasons that are important to them. So whatever their wishes are, we'll respect, but we just got to be securitas enough to not divulge the privacy of who they are, but at the same time, allow you, our shareholders, to know that we're doing some pretty important stuff. So we just have to find a circuitous route to be able to, get you to do your own, secret work to find out who that is with. But we have to be careful that we don't disappoint who our clients are.
Yeah. So people can read the notes, and we won't go over everything because
RPTA we've talked about, so I think we're pretty good there. Love the business. Like I say, the platform's already built. So you're talking, when I say profit, that's the business, that's after all expenses and everything, not including corporate public costs, which is basically a cost that is, that is basically shared by all the business units. But on that business there, you're 75 to 80% profit on the RPTA. It's a really good business. So we really like it.
Yeah, and the Ontario is.
You've got something there, 250 municipalities. There's 440 municipalities in the province. We only have 25, not 250 municipalities signed up. But this is before our RPTA deal is done. So yeah, you should change that to 25. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually much better than.
Pardon me?
Yeah, that's much better than. Actually.
Yeah. So we expect massive adoption of this, because this is a big revenue generator for the not just for the province, for the municipalities. We are going to expand in the U.S. We're taking one step at a time. I've got some meetings this week with a lot of large lenders. I'll give you an example. So RPTA tells you whether your property taxes are too high, too low, and by how much. So, that's a really important thing. If you buy your house, you want to know, are you paying the right amount? Are you paying too much? You're not paying enough. If you're not paying enough, what happens if they come around and review it? You have to be prepared to have that expectation that you'll be paying the proper amount. So what we're saying to lenders is that we can give a profile of all the properties so that any new loans that they sign up, they can take a look at a profile of where that individual property is in relationship to what it should be. So if the property taxes are $5,000, and we say that they should go to $6,000, that's not that big a deal. It's not problematic. But many counties and states in the United States have this freezing rule, so that if you buy a house for $100,000, your tax rate is 2%. You pay $2,000 a year. But all this, and so it's frozen, and so they can only increase their taxes by maybe 3% a year. There's that kind of legal encumbrance. But what happens is 10 years later, somebody comes in and buys that property for $1 million. Guess what happens? The whole thing gets reset. So if your tax rate is $2,000 and you buy it, 2%, and you buy it for $1 million, your taxes now are, $20,000, right? I don't know if my math is right. Well, yeah, $1 million at 2% is $20,000, right? So essentially, your taxes go from $2,000 to $20,000. So essentially, what we're saying to the lenders is, be prepared if you're going to loan on a property. Be prepared to know what the repercussions are, because even though you, the lender, are not paying the taxes, does your mortgagee have the ability and the financial wherewithal to be able to take that kind of hit? And so all we're doing is providing them with intelligence on the risk analysis of their loans. The other thing that we expect to do, though, is that if someone has significantly been overvalued, that lender will contact that homeowner, and we can facilitate getting them a reduction based on the analysis that we have. We think property taxes has a big opportunity to grow in the U.S., and it's just a matter of getting lender adoption into buying into this thing. Everything is slow when it's new, but once it's on fire, everyone wants it. It's just like, mother duck and the baby duck, they all ultimately end up following the mother. So if we can get a major institution signed up in the U.S. to adopt this, then we think that everyone will come.
I mean, this is kind of interesting. The current business is currently making a couple of million of bucks per year, high margin. And
that's just all in Ontario, really. There's no,
so
there's no
is that
tax
from
in the
these
US.
25?
There's no, and that's 25. Yes, that's right. In Ontario,
So,
that's right.
Yeah, so a couple of million per year for 25, and after the contract, it would be.
There's 440 municipalities, so I mean, they're not all going to sign up tomorrow. But we think exponentially that this business will it grow 10 to 20 times? Of course it will, right? Yeah. We love it, just absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's very interesting, appealing proposition. So we have some.
And just by the way, I think that while you're on that point of RPTA, because you have a point that you've made later about the relationship with my old company. So I want to make this clear.
All right.
Before I had any, role, with I Look About, they approached me because I had built with my old company, RPTA. And so they wanted it. So what we did is we sold it to them. We didn't take any cash. We took, I think it was 6 million shares at the time. But essentially, we sold it to them on the grounds that if you sell it and it takes off, then we get a royalty from it. So I think there's another 10 years left on that royalty. But we get royalties. Not we. It's my old company, which is now my two sons own that now. I have no ownership in that company, but the sons get royalties from that. So, kudos to Voxtur and the old I Look About, because they didn't pay 1 penny of cash to that business, and it's just going to rocket it. It's going to just drive multiples and multiples of millions of dollars of profits for this company. So great deal for them. Hasn't been a great deal for the old, my son's business, but it will be good over the next 10 years because this business will take off. So that's a nice example where everyone benefits from it.
Yeah, I think it's good that you explained that, because there's been a lot of speculation around that. And
well, it's and I don't own the business, to be clear. It's owned by my sons. It's been, legacy business have been around since 1995, and so it's done really well, and they do an incredible job. But it doesn't do anything with what we do. There's nothing that business does that we do. All right, they don't represent any governments. They're all involved on the private side. So. All good.
all
No
right.
conflict.
Yeah, so that's great to have covered. And yeah, we have some AOL stuff here that.
Yeah, we talked about that already.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a fantastic business. It's going to be sold by everyone. All of our service providers will sell it on our behalf. All of the lenders will want it. We expect primarily, in the refi space, because they have the ability to take the title as opposed to having to be referred by a broker. So we eventually want to get to all the brokers and that, but if the brokers are going to recommend it, it has to have already approved by the bank. So it's a process that takes time. We got to get all the banks to approve it, so it can get into their system, and then once they approve it, we get the brokers to recommend it. That's good. But on the lending side, when we're representing lenders and representing, basically refinancing, we think that that's where it's going to take off, big time. Yeah.
Well, last time we heard it was 30 clients, but now can you say how many now?
I really don't know, because the guys are working on it daily. I mean, listen, I think that. Man, oh man, listen, with the pilot projects we have going on right now, it's significant. It is significant.
Over 30?
Pardon me?
Would it be over 30 that you have gained?
I don't know exactly. I don't want to pinpoint it. Let's put it this way. We have certain clients that are representative, some of the largest lenders, in the country. And so, I could have 250 banks, but they could be credit unions, which, represent like this much, or I could have one large service provider that could be like 10 times bigger than 250 put together. So I don't think it's really the quantitative number you look at. It's got to be the who it is that is, doing the pilots and what they represent in the marketplace. And I will tell you that the marketplace that will be representing AOL will be significant, country.
Yeah, they're not all created equal, the clients. So we have just quickly also the now slides.
I've talked about that. Yeah.
So it's actually, I mean, when you look at the purchase price of now, I mean, it's looking. It doesn't look that expensive anymore, to be honest.
Oh gosh, I mean, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the best deal we ever did, right? I mean, as they say, it's only been a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
And so, or maybe close, encroaching on 2 years, but call it, it hasn't been 2 years. Let's say it that way. And I got to tell you, this business is growing every day. With the sketching, with the automated report writer, with the direct appraisal, this company has nothing to do but go up. All right. The ACI platform that was owned by First American, it was supposed to be bought by Accurate Appraisals. That deal fell through. Technology is 15 years behind the times. We're signing up clients every day. Like, who wouldn't want a tablet with a fully digitized platform in front of them that basically is populated, everything in the records that we want. So this is a lot of reasons to be excited about this business. This is what Marty Haldane and I talked about the day we bought it. And, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it just takes time. And as I say, come and see me 3 to 5 years from now and tell me what you think of these businesses. I mean, it's just the way it is. Like I've been doing this my whole life. And so, I understand it, but everyone in this business wants instant gratification. And I understand why, but also no one has a crystal ball that you can predicate and predict, all of the other external economic influences that could affect your business and cause you challenges along the way.
Yeah. So kind of coming to the end, and I want to thank you for this interview. And maybe I think it's great that you are willing to answer the questions from shareholders. And maybe do you have some closing comments?
Well, number one, to you and to your followers, you're important to us, right? And so I will make myself available, as maybe not as often as you want, but certainly frequently enough that it'll keep you up to date, because every shareholder is really, really important. And then when we have an opportunity to reach the number of investors that we have in Finland and Europe, and for that matter North America, that follow you, it's really, really important to us. You mean everything, because you put the confidence and we use your money to help grow this business. And so you are entitled. It's not a gift from me. You are entitled to know everything that you possibly can know about your investment. And so it is important. And I pride myself, as much as I possibly can, is to be available, to return as many emails as I possibly can, to be available, if you have a call, if necessary, but to be able to do it in a forum like this, where you can literally reach thousands, makes it so much easier for me, because maybe I have less emails or less phone calls, right? So I commend you, on your interest. I thank you for your investment personally, and thanks for giving me the forum today to be able to explain who we are and what we're doing. It's much appreciated.
All right, yeah. Thank you too, and I think I'll end the recording here.